Hello everybody, LA Diecast, and we're back. This time we've got trophies. I've won some trophies. I finally won something. Those are the two trophies I won at the, I have to read it over here, I'll get it wrong, the 29th Annual Hot Wheel Collector Convention that was just recently in Los Angeles. And this is the other part to the Nationals Convention that's usually somewhere else in the U.S. if you know of these things. I think it was about 2 weeks ago now as I'm recording this. And I entered mini cars in the custom contest, and one of them did very well. A total surprise to me that it actually did well. So a little background, and then I'm going to show you the car, and I'll tell you about the car and the different things that I did to the car and the techniques. I've got a couple emails. People seem to want to know a little bit more about the car, so I will do that. But first, before I go into the contest, a lot of you know about custom Hot Wheels, and well, there's contests for these. At the larger conventions they have contests, just like all sorts of other things. They have contests for everything you can imagine. And the contest I entered had about 400 cars in it, at least from what I heard, in numerous categories. And usually how these custom contests work at the larger convention is they have an amateur category, 3 categories. I won't go into what those 3 categories are, but you could kind of consider them like wheel swaps, paint with some additions, and then highly modified. That's my version. That's not the official version. Officially they're called mild, hot, and spicy, I think, because yeah, we're Hot Wheelers. We do weird things. So last year I entered the amateur category, and I won. I don't remember what category I won in. I think it was in the hot category, the middle one, sort of modified. And once you win in any category, then you move on to pro, and they do that so that there's constantly new people winning. So if you win once, you go into pro, and everybody in pro has won. So, oh my God, I knew a lot of these guys that have won. Out here on the West Coast, I know a lot of the customizers, and I was pretty darn sure I was going to get destroyed by these guys. They're good, and sure enough, the customs that were in the show were just awesome, and I feel kind of stupid just doing a show on it because this stuff was just fantastic. You know a lot of these guys that are in the show. They're on Instagram. They have their own YouTube channels. There's nothing else I could say other than there were hundreds of fantastic cars, and everybody kind of has their own style, so that on top of things, oh my God, this stuff was just awesome. I have about 10 favorite customizers that I just worship their stuff, and they were all in the show. I was more excited to meet some of these people than I was to be in the show myself. So in I go. I put my stuff in. I put it on a table. It's open to the public. Public view it. You get lots of comments. It's a lot of fun. If you ever get a chance to do it, you should do it. The judges then judge the show behind closed doors. I don't really even know who the judges are, but I think some of them are from Mattel. Mattel's just down the street from the convention out here in the West Coast. And then they have a big show at the end, and that's when you get your show car, which this time was that dairy delivery that I did an earlier video on, and then they announced the winners. And I was by myself this time. My son wasn't with me, and I was just kind of hanging out and just kind of chilling, thinking I'll just get to see some cool Hot Wheels here and hear what Mattel has to say, and I was just kind of chilling out. And when they announced that I'd won, I was really surprised. I could go on forever about how good these guys are in this show. They are very, very good at what they do. So I am completely honored that I won anything at this show. But the reason I mention that is I won the second award. Oh, by the way, I didn't tell you, I guess. I won the what is that probably won't show up, but it's first place in what is the hot category. Is that right? It's hot, mild, spicy, hot. I guess it's mild, spicy, hot. I read them off wrong, but which is the highly modified. It means you really chop the car up, and it comes with a little custom car on top. Oh, very nice. And the one though that I just am so humbled to have won was the Mattel designers pick, and they pick one car from the show to hand out this Mattel designers pick award, and I won that. I didn't even know that was a category, and oh my gosh, Mattel likes my stuff. I'm so happy about that. Anyways, I'm going to come over here to the light box. I'll show you the car that won. The car's name is Chin Killa. You'll see why. There's lots of stories about it. I'll tell you some of the things that I did to the car, and we'll catch up over here in the light box in just a second. Okay, we're over here in the light table, and this is Chin Killa. This is the car that won, and I mentioned a couple other cars. I will show those in another video, but there's quite a bit to talk about this car. First of all, this was not the original design. The only part of this that was part of my original design was I wanted the idea of a mouse driving one of these cars with like a hamster wheel. I just thought it was humorous, this idea of this little mouse going as fast as he could, little drag racing mouse. Now you may be asking, well, why don't you have a mouse? The mouse was lost during production somewhere. We found the mouse, but we found him too late in the process. There was a mouse. Chinkilla here, which the whole thing got named after, he came along in about the last 48 hours before we left for the convention. So Chinkilla, he could very well still be drawing for all I know. But he is all done in Sculpey clay, and that rough texture that's on him is a flocking. And I've talked about the flocking before, maybe. Yeah, we did. It's basically, you can get it at a site called Flock It. That's what I got. Come on, little Chinkilla, can you focus there, buddy? Come on, get your shot in there. There he is. And his strap there is just pinstriping tape. There he is. And then he's painted, so that rough texture is actually the flocking that's been painted. I didn't really want him to be super fuzzy. So his feet, by the way, those are converted jewelry blade saw blades that are chopped up. That was the only thing I had that was small enough to fit. His tail is a piece of copper pipe. So he is our driver, and Chinkilla here, I'll move him around so you can see his other side there. Chinkilla drives his dairy van. Originally he was meant to fit inside, but I thought he covered up too much of the inside, so he sits outside. And I'm going to move old Chinkilla. You know what? He can sit on top there. It is his car after all. And I'm going to zoom in a little bit here. There we go. The inside, get that to focus a little bit. The inside is all made out of old watch pieces or fake clock pieces, if that's a real thing. The bigger gears and all, like these here, those I ordered from China. I think those are just cut out of metal and sanded down. I don't think they're real clock gears. But the smaller pieces, like this piece here or in there, and let me see if I can zoom in there. And let me see if I can get the light a little bit better here. The pieces inside, there we go. The pieces inside there are all small watch gears from pocket watches. And I put them together partially to cover up pieces that I didn't want you to see, but also to make it look like there was probably a lot more in there than you'd think. There actually was a light that would light up in it, and it's kind of up in the top there. I can't get a good shot of it, but the light was from a Happy Meal car, and that light burned out. It turned on in the middle of the night, and I had glued the on-off switch in place so that if I could kind of nudge it and turn it on, and it turned on accidentally and burned out. And it was glued in forever, so now it's just dead weight in there. It'll never work. But it actually had a light that turned on. The engine, I think that's an M2 engine, and I just liked the way it looked. I thought it looked very steampunky. It's got M2 tires on it. The outside of this is aluminum wire that's been wrapped around that to give it a little bit of a frame. And then there's some copper sheet metal, I guess we call it, copper hobby metal, down along the bottom framing it. The little air compressor came from a train set, I believe. And these fitted pieces of copper on it were just cut out and then dremeled into shape. And if I bent them so that they were a little bit more curved than the car, when I glued them on, they stuck on pretty good. By the way, this piece right here fell off right before the show, and I needed to run down to the hotel desk and get super glue to put that back on. So I'm going to turn it around. It's asymmetrical, so the other side is different. Here, let's get old Chinkilla in here. There we go. I'm going to move Chinkilla down here. He can watch his car from the other side. So chain, Walmart jewelry chain, nothing fancy. More of those small gears, and you can see I kind of had a little piece that extended out through here. Originally, these pieces were supposed to kind of house a little powertrain that at least made sense to me, but I just ran out of room inside of it. That was probably my biggest problem with this, is just running out of room. The tires do turn, by the way. And on the back, this wood piece I made out of just popsicle sticks that are sanded down. The little barrels are little cast iron barrels, HO scale, so they're a little smaller than the scale of the car. And then those pipes in the back are all bent using Weber's pliers, and just kind of bent to look like they fit into something. The whole back of this is filled with BBs too, so it's actually really heavy. I wish I hadn't done that, because it made it really awkward. It's a little bit lopsided on the back, so when I handle it, if it's not on the ground, it is kind of awkward to handle. The back wire here, by the way, is just aluminum wire wrapped around a copper pipe and then just bent into shape. So let's get a shot here of the back. And then the idea of this whole thing was this little guy would run on his wheel. It would kind of have a powertrain that ended up coming back up in here and then powering his car. Besides the fact that he can't see out, but he's a mouse. He has to concentrate on actually running. Get a little bit higher shot. I'm pretty happy with the way the top came out. I put this flame on kind of at the last minute. I thought it was lacking something on the top, and I really like the way the flame came out there on the top of it. Added decals, polished the snot out of the top of this thing. Didn't touch really the rest of it except for these panels. The biggest problem I had with it, and it kind of held up the making of this thing for about a month while I figured it out, was I couldn't figure out how to polish the car and get the paint the way I wanted while I was still working on the inside. You know, usually when we do customs, the outside of the car is separate, so you can just do whatever to the outside, do whatever to the inside. But on this one, the inside was integrated in with the outside, so I couldn't really paint it without screwing up all the gears and everything that I'd already put on the inside. And it'll never show up. I don't know if I can get a good shot of it here. But right, yeah, you can kind of see it. The thickness of that hole in it is made by putting balsa wood, lining the entire inside of the car with balsa wood so that it would give it a thickness. Right off the bat, I ran into a problem that if I was going to see into the car and the inside of the car was a big chunk of the concept, that I couldn't have them separate. And so I had to glue balsa wood in the whole inside and then Dremel that out to give it a thickness and then kind of hide it wherever it was real obvious. And maybe you can see that here. I'm particularly proud of that solution. Yeah, you can see it right there in the window. That's much thicker than the usual dairy would be. And that's because of that balsa wood inside. But it allowed me to then have an inside and an outside that was all one whole piece. But I never could figure out how to just make an inside that kind of snapped onto the outside. So I was constantly battling how to paint it and not screw up all my little gears and everything. So it kind of sat there for about a month while I tried to think about that. So that is Chin Killa. Chin Killa, he won his first place and the Mattel designer's pick of the show. So Chin Killa will forever have a place on my shelf. And anyways, let me know what you think. I know it's not everybody's type of car, but let me know what you think. I'd be more than thrilled to tell you about anything on what I did with this one. So if you've got any questions, go ahead and ask. But yeah, hopefully you like it. So I will show some of the other customs in a future show here that I put in there. And yeah, so I will see all of you later. Bye bye.